am more than breast cancer.
I am more than gastric cancer.
I am more than Hodgkin's lymphoma stage 3.
I am more than Lynch syndrome.
I am more than metastatic male breast cancer.
I'm more than PMDD.
I am more than diabetes.
I am more than lupus.
I am more than FAP.
Welcome to More Than a Diagnosis. I'm Den.
And I'm Jess. This podcast is about so much more than cancer, chronic illness, or the labels we've been given. It's about reclaiming our lives, finding community, and thriving in ways we never thought possible.
Whether you're a patient, a caregiver, or just someone curious about what it means to live beyond a diagnosis, we're so glad you're here.
Hey pals, today's episode is a little different. We are taking a pause to honor someone who is really special to us, our friend Danny. Danny was one of the rare men diagnosed with breast cancer, 1 in 726 to be exact. And he didn't just live with male breast cancer. He advocated so fiercely for men like him, even when it wasn't always easy to find that space in a pink world. Den, do you want to talk a little bit about Danny's approach to life and his legacy?
Yeah, absolutely. If you follow Danny on TikTok, you probably remember how bold and unapologetic he was. He had 2 signature phrases, best day possible and buckle the F up. He really embraced life no matter how hard things got. But behind those phrases, there was a man who was passionate about raising awareness for male breast cancer. And that's exactly what we're here to talk about today. So buckle up because this one's going to be emotional, but it's important.
So important. Just hearing you say buckle up reminds me of almost every video, every talking video that he would make if he had an update or he was waiting on information from an appointment. Mm-hmm. I feel like all of his videos would be like, well, you better buckle up.
Yeah. Exactly.
And we'd be like, we're buckled. We're buckled.
I remember one of the few times where I think it was one of his hospital admissions, and I had said, Danny, you told us to buckle up. We're buckled up, but this is way overboard. Come on now. And he just cracked up. He's like, well.
He liked to keep us on our toes, that's for sure. Did. You know, when I first came across Danny's posts, I was first obviously shocked because I didn't realize that men could get breast cancer. I mean, it makes sense, obviously, when we think about it, but I never really thought about it until I came across his videos. So, of course, I was curious, like anybody would be, but I also was not quick to follow him.
Yep, same.
And he knew that too. We had a whole conversation about this and we laughed about it because, you know, full on California girl over here with lots of strong opinions about things and whatnot. And he was a Texan through and through.
Oh, he sure was.
And he was proud of it too, you know. Our little jokes back and forth about the competition between Whataburger and In-N-Out Burger.
Yeah. Yep. He was never going to let us win.
No, never.
He just wasn't.
Never.
No.
Never. But, you know, it was like I would see his videos and then I actually started to listen to what he was talking about. And, you know, he talked a lot about cannabis and about healthcare, but he would spell it out HEAL, capital THC, lowercase ARE. And I loved that because that was like his little way of sneaking it in there and not getting, you know, doxed by the algorithm for talking about cannabis.
Or the green goddess, like
yes. So we like started coming up with all these other terms outside of just gardening. So I really started to listen and I was like, you know what? There's something about this guy. And so I followed him and it really didn't take long before, you know, that connection really happened and I got to see you know, what kind of person that he really was. there was definitely, let's just say there's so much more than what met the eye.
Absolutely. One of the things that I just love the most about Danny is, especially when he would get imaging done and, days later he'd get that phone call from the doctor. And before saying anything, he would make it a point to say, there's no good news, there's no bad news. There's just news.
Oh, yes.
And regardless of the news we receive today, we will make it our best day possible.
Yes.
And, that always got my attention, and it tugged at my heart because the news wasn't what we wanted to hear.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand how someone could hop on social media and still be so incredibly positive and make it a point to say it's just news and we will deal with it, we will face the music, face the treatment, but we're still gonna make it our best day possible, so buckle up.
Yep.
And he would just, in that same post, we went through a roller coaster of emotions with him. And God, you just gotta love him for that.
I know when, last summer, he made a trip out to California, and he was coming out here for a nonprofit that he was a part of called the CARE Project, and they were having an event and he wanted to be there. And so he decided that he was going to drive from Texas to California by himself and do a little road trip. So of course, when I found out he was coming to California, I'm like, we have to meet up. And then when I found out where he was going to be, I realized that he was literally driving right past my house. And so we made a plan to meet up for lunch at In-N-Out Burger because we were like, okay, well, if you're coming to California, you have to try In-N-Out Burger. And, it was supposed to be just a quick stop on his way to the next thing that he was doing. But that quick stop turned into probably a 2-hour lunch because the traffic started to pick up, and it was such a special time to meet and really kind of talk about things that we hadn't had a chance yet to talk about. And, the weekend was great because he went to his event, and then the next day after that, we had a beach meetup. And we had some folks from the community come who were able to meet him. And then on his way home, he was going to be passing our house again, so we told him, hey, if you need to stop, if you need a potty break, whatever you need, you can stop and we got you. And so he decided to stop, and he was only going to stop for a potty break and then get back on the road. And he got here, and you could tell he was really tired. It was already the nighttime. It had been a long day, and he took us up on our offer, and he stayed the night. And, it was just such a cool thing to, not only for me to be able to get to know him on another level, but also for my husband to get to know him. And him and Mark have so much in common when it comes to the cannabis world and their education around cannabis. And so, of course, they bonded over that. But he really, truly became more than just a friend. He became like our family. And when he left, of course, we're like, take a shower, do whatever you need. And so he had used our bathroom to shower and get himself ready to get on the road, because our bathroom's bigger and whatnot. And when he left and he got on the road, I remember going back into the bathroom, and I have a dry erase marker in my bathroom because sometimes I leave myself notes and to-do lists and things I don't want to forget. And he wrote on the mirror, "Create your best day possible." And it was because, we had this conversation about how he's like, before I was saying, have your best day possible or make it your best day possible. He's like, but I think that there's a difference in words matter. And he's like, I think we have the ability to create our best day possible. And I just thought that that was so cool. And I took a picture of it because I knew that eventually the mirror would have to get erased and it wouldn't be there anymore. But it just felt like, he left that message for us to continue to create our best day possible. And I just thought it was really sweet.
That is super sweet. And I still remember when he spent the night at your house, the following morning, he made a post, his morning post, the Just Listen, which we absolutely love because he basically forced us to stop and just listen.
Yeah.
And how many times do we just fly through life and don't take a moment to pause and really just kind of sit with the birds chirping or,
the rain falling.
Yes. Yeah. And that morning he did a Just Listen from your porch.
I know.
And I thought it was just so sweet that he did that. And he made another post where he said, I'm not going to say or mention where I'm at or who I'm with. And it just cracked me up. Danny being cryptic. That's another thing. He was always so cryptic. Oh my gosh. You remember how many times after we'd see one of his posts, we'd talk to each other about it and say, hey, did you see his latest cryptic post?
What do you think's happening? What's going on? Do you know? Have you talked to him?
And laugh about it.
Yes. Yes. I think, as a man with breast cancer, I feel like he really put himself out there, and was very honest about what that was like. And I think that there was a balance between how much he shared and how much he kept to himself. And I think that that's just something as folks who are going through health challenges, we navigate what we share and what we don't share and what we put out there and what we don't. And, his whole thing wasn't, he was very positive, but it wasn't toxically positive.
No.
And that was very evident. He was very transparent about some of the things that he went through. And, just looking back through the comments, after he passed and looking at all the videos that people have posted, you can really see the impact that he had on so many people's lives. He will not be forgotten anytime soon.
He won't. And what I love is that we all knew him, yet we all have different experiences.
Yes.
We each have our own story to tell. And that, I think, sums up who Danny was.
Absolutely.
He was a man who was always willing to make anyone feel better.
Yes.
At whatever cost.
Yes.
And I still remember, I've always been extremely self-conscious about burping. And, I made a post talking about how I am self-conscious about burping and our podcast and how I don't want to burp on podcasts and we just edit it out. And his comment was, let it rip. Let it rip. Absolutely not. So, of course, I get, a message, let it rip. And my response was absolutely not. And we got into a whole conversation about burping and belching, and he made me feel so seen.
Yeah.
And
I think
it was
that's
silly.
what he was so good at, right?
Yes.
It's just making people feel seen. Some of the content that I saw circulating on TikTok after he passed was people talking about how they remember how he would stitch their videos. That was a big thing for him, was this is stitched content, and encouraging people to go watch that person's video, or the things that he would reflect off of that person's post was just making them feel so seen and so heard and so validated. And I think that it was just beautiful. Like you said, everybody loved him and everybody had a different experience of what he brought to their life. And so we wanted to do this podcast, obviously, as a tribute to him because he was very special to the both of us. But we also wanted to open up this conversation to folks who also had the privilege of meeting him in person. And so we asked a few folks who we know who got to meet him. A couple people were lucky enough in our community to have the privilege of getting to know him a little bit. And so we asked them to send us a recording of what he meant to them and how he impacted their lives. So have a listen.
So like many of us here, I came across Danny's page on TikTok. And I remember posting something. I can't remember what exactly it was. I think it was when I was trying to do Zoom meetings back in the day and just, kind of get our community together. And I had posted a TikTok and sent it out to our breasties. And I remember Danny chiming in and commenting, "Are men allowed?" And this was the first time I had found out that, he had breast cancer. And I was like, heck yeah. It was just so amazing, first of all, to meet a man that was going through what we were going through. And for him to want to even engage with us, I was really, really pleased to see that. What I took away from Danny, besides his catchphrases, buckle the fuck up, keep fucking going, and make it your best day possible, was just how much he appreciated life and how positive he was and how he was always trying to uplift other people, even through all the shit that he was going through. When he came to California, that was such a wonderful and moving, powerful experience for not just me, but for the group that was there. Just being around him, just being with each other. It was such a beautiful and memorable day, and I will never forget it. It was just so much love. You could just feel it. And I remember at one point, Danny excusing himself and saying that he needed just some time for himself, a few minutes for himself. And I remember him walking down the beach. I think Jess actually has a picture of that moment. Somebody does, because I remember seeing it. And he just took some time and just, I think he was just taking in that moment, taking in the air and listening to the water. He would always say, just listen. I think that's what he was doing. And it was a special moment to see for him. I'm never going to forget him. He was such a positive force to our community. And we love him so very much. And as I remember him, I will always keep in the back of my mind to make every day my best day possible.
Danny inspired me more than he probably ever realized. When I was diagnosed with stage 4, he was one of the people that I really looked up to. The way he just kept going no matter what will always stay with me. I was reading through our old messages and man, he always had the best advice. He loved making fun of me and he always made sure I knew he was joking. Even though he came off strong, he had this tenderness about him. He knew I got the joke, but he still checked in because that's just the kind of person he was. He was also one of my favorite people to talk politics with. He was so smart and sharp. I only met him once, but I feel like I had known him my entire life. The way he was so open and honest and real about the hard stuff, I really admire that about him. I already miss him so much, but strangely, his passing makes me less afraid of death. When my time comes, I hope he finds me, and I hope we can go smoke the afterlife version of weed together while we wait for our loved ones to show up. Until then, we've got it here, friend. You go be free from pain and cancer, and I'll keep reminding people to have their best day possible, just like you always did. Love you, friend.
Hello, everybody. My name is Anthony, aka Vargatone on TikTok. So I am a stage 3 Hodgkin's lymphoma survivor. I went through 6 months of intense chemotherapy. And towards the end of my treatment, I entered a true state of just immobilizing terror. I couldn't really get out of bed. I couldn't socialize. I was just hiding under my blanket. And so I decided to try to reach out to to easily accessible social spaces. And so I looked for people that were either going through chemo or going through a chemo recovery process on TikTok. And through that, I came across a lot of really magical people, one of them being Jess. Obviously, her content was just really inspiring and instilled a lot of hope in me. But another account I came across was Danny's breast cancer dude. His content was very unique. He had a really charming twang to his accent. He had a lot of really funny content he was posting, but I think the videos that I loved the most were these still shots where he would record rainfall or a simple breeze in his backyard, just these really still moments where you could tell that he really was just trying to appreciate the present. Well, Jess hosted a beach meetup, and I thought it might be a good opportunity for me to break down these walls of terror. And though I don't have breast cancer, I felt that it might be a really good community to tap into since there's sort of a chemotherapy involved as well. And being queer identifying, generally, I don't know, feel more comfortable in female or queer spaces. And so it just was inspired to meet these folks in person. So the first time I met Danny in person, he didn't ask me anything about my personal life. He didn't ask me anything about my diagnosis. He didn't care about my career or anything at all. He literally embraced me. He gave me a big bear hug. He enveloped me. I still remember just the sheer size. He was so much larger than I was, and there was something comforting about that hug. And the first thing he told me was, "You're with family now." I have to say that was probably one of the biggest impacts to the wall of terror, this bubble of terror I was living in. His warmth really did just break that down. He, among a group of really inspiring, courageous women, really just lifted me out of the shadows. He also shared a joint with me. That was the first time I'd smoked weed in a really long time. And because of that, I actually enjoyed one of the most beautiful sunsets I think I'd ever seen. Everything was so pink and purple and bright, and the air was just full of just this lofty, positive magic. And he also connected me to a men's cancer survivor group and would occasionally check in on me to see how I was doing in my remission journey. I'm so surprised, and I think I'm still feeling, it all feels a little surreal knowing that he passed. I even messaged Jess just to make sure that what I was reading in my feeds was true. And I want to believe that wherever he is now, he is in an even more beautiful place than that beach could ever be. But in retrospect, I do feel that the universe wanted us to meet for that reason, to break down that terror. He really was just like a big bowl of chocolate pudding. And I, even though did not really know him intimately, I will miss him and I will always think about him, and he will always be present in my remission journey. So Danny, wherever you are, I hope you are happier, and I hope you are smoking some delicious weed, relishing in just the simplicity of the moment.
Danny was like a big brother to me. Before I met him, I was living with cancer. Danny showed me how to thrive. Whatever happened, good, bad, or a little bit of both, Danny was there for me. We connected so strongly even before we met in person. We messaged or video called nearly every day. Sometimes we talked about little stuff, ordinary day-to-day things. Other times we talked about serious stuff like health or relationships, but there was always something to laugh about in every chat. Parents, cover your kids' ears for a second. We had this running joke when our treatment days lined up that I was working the pole while he took it in the ass. When I met Danny in person, it wasn't like we were meeting for the first time. It was more like seeing my brother because of how strongly we had already bonded. Getting to know Danny made such a positive impact in my cancer journey, but more importantly in my life. It really is the worst club with the best members.
Thanks for reaching out. Carrie Madrid from the Care Project and mutual friend of Danny Riggs. Truly, 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 Danny became a brother from another mother as soon as we met. I can't remember exactly how we met online. It was through social media. He may have found me on TikTok. I'm not sure. But the second we connected, it was like many other breast cancer survivors and thrivers and warriors, as he would say. We were just instantly bonded. We both have huge hearts and a little bit of a potty mouth and just a wicked sense of humor that kind of got us through everything we were going through. And I already have 3 brothers by birth, but I will tell you that I'm actually I was actually closer to Danny and could trust him and tell him more than I could tell my birth brothers. I'm so grateful to have known him even for such a short time because he made such a huge impact on my life, on my organization, the CARE Project, on Man Up to Cancer, another amazing organization for men diagnosed with all types of cancer, and just the general population. This man was just an angel on earth. And I could go on, but I'm struggling to find what I want to say. Just know that I love him and I miss him dearly, and I always will. And thank you for memorializing our friend. Take care.
I gotta say, these tributes are just so touching. But first things first, I'm so jelly. Because y'all got to meet him in person, and I was unable to make it.
I know. I'm so bummed that you couldn't be there at that beach day. So
But
bummed.
just hearing how he impacted not just those he connected with over TikTok, but in person, and just listening to how connected everyone felt with him, and just how comfortable, and just so much love. I feel like if you listen to these tributes, that's so evident.
Yeah.
And I think it's incredible how you can meet someone over the internet and connect so deeply and have so much love for that person.
Yes.
And that's who Danny was.
Absolutely.
He was a special man who, throughout his journey with metastatic male breast cancer, he was still advocating fiercely with Man Up to Cancer, raising funds, still trying to make others, like we said earlier, feel seen, validated.
Absolutely.
And these tributes definitely show how evident he was in touching all of our lives.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I'm so sad that you didn't have the opportunity and the honor of meeting him in person. But I think that this just shows the impact that he has had, because if we had opened up the option to let everyone send in a little something, we would be here for hours, because even though not everyone had the privilege of meeting him, he absolutely made an impact on so many people, and his presence is so sorely missed. And as we take this time to not only honor Danny and the legacy that he leaves behind, we also want to take a moment to honor those that we've lost, and we want to recognize that this is a part of the journey that really is not easy at all. It never gets easier. And unfortunately, it is part of being in the worst club with the best members, right? Because it just comes with such profound loss, because even if we haven't had the privilege of meeting all of these people in person, we grow so attached and we become so connected to their stories and to what they bring to the world. And so we carry the weight of grief along with the strength of those who are no longer with us. So we wanted to take a minute to just name some of those that we have lost in our community over the last couple of years. Obviously, this is not everyone, but these people touched our lives and our hearts and our community.
We invite you to take a quiet moment wherever you are and think of those you've lost. Say their names out loud, hold them in your heart, or simply remember them in your thoughts. Let's honor them together. And as we say these names, we want you to know that you're not alone in this grief. Every one of these names represents a life, a story, a person who has made an incredible impact. Alexandria, Kate, Sophia, Lisa, Arthura, Belinda, Ashley, Shelley, Gina, Atlas, Diana, and Leanna.
These names represent so much more than just a loss. They represent the strength, courage, and love that each person brought into this community. And while they're not here with us in body, they continue to live on through their impact, their stories, and our memories.
Grief can feel so isolating, but it's a part of this shared experience that connects us. Whether it's a friend, a family member, or someone from the community, we're all holding pieces of them in our hearts.
We sure are. Oh man, it is so hard to be a part of this community, but I can't imagine being anywhere else or doing anything different with my time. And Danny's legacy will continue, as will those of the folks that we named. And we're going to keep fighting for the awareness and the space that men with breast cancer deserve, because Danny's voice will always be with us. Den, is there anything that you want to add before we close?
Of course. Just that we're so grateful to be here, to be able to share this with you all. And if you're grieving, please remember, there's absolutely no right way to do it. We're all just doing the best we can, and we'll carry those we've lost with us always.
Absolutely. If you would like to leave a tribute to Danny or anyone else that you're missing, we would encourage you to visit morethanadiagnosis.org. You can leave a little memory, you can submit a photo, however you would like to remember this person. And we'd just like to thank you for listening. Until next time, please be gentle with yourself. And as Danny would say, create your best day possible.
Thanks for joining us on More Than a Diagnosis. We hope today's conversation left you feeling seen, heard, and maybe even a little more connected.
If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who might need it.
And if you're looking for a place to connect with others who truly get it, join our support circle at morethanadiagnosis.org, where we will continue this conversation. It's free, it's welcoming, and it's built for you.
Because no one should have to navigate this alone.
Until next time,
keep living, keep growing, and remember,
you are more than a diagnosis.